Hello, all of my favorite lunatics out there. This is my gift to you for Christmas Day. I hope you're having a merry holidays, that Santa Claus is treating you well. And if Santa Claus isn't treating you well, times will get better. I know that a lot of people are really going through a lot these days economically. For most people I know, it's not a time of great ease. So my love to all of you. In today's video, I'm going to do some very different things than I usually do. Instead of talking about next year, or the fabulous moon coming up that's supercharged with Jupiter on January 3rd. I'm going to leave all that content for later. Today, on Christmas Day, I'm recording this on December 23rd. I want to give you a gift, and I want to give you a card draw, and I want to share some stuff. First of all, I'm deeply grateful and thankful for all of you who have subscribed. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I'd love to have you aboard. I taught a class about a week and a half ago, and I had the best time ever. And it was a paid class, but I'm going to gift it to you guys here today. It's not an astrology class. Some of you know that I was a remote viewer with some of the Project Stargate Fallout people in the late 90s, that I was on a BBC documentary successfully doing a remote viewing, that I worked as a clairvoyant and I talked to dead people through much of my 30s. And that in addition to being an astrologer, I'm also very intuitive. And I taught a class on my 5 top fun and easy techniques to use intuition in your own life without having to actually be talented. And by the way, none of us are special. We all have this ability. And one of my deepest hopes for you in watching this course and learning the 5 ways to operate intuitively in your own life, that you come home to a better sense of your own baseline, your own interior knowing. So sometimes we reach out to astrology and tarot card channels, and I've done this and I still do myself, for some navigational guidance, for some hope, for some directionality. But we can also just tune inward, and using these 5 simple tools, get the answers you need for yourself without a complicated sky, without, having to overthink it, if you know what I mean. So I'm going to drop that at the end of this talk portion. It's going to be appended here. I'm cutting out the Q&A portion that at the end of class. Those are people who don't want to be public. And I'm simply putting out the actual slideshow course for you here today. Trust me, it is so easy to learn these 5 tools. I use them all of the time, and anyone can learn them. Finally, or continually, I'm dropping a ton of videos in a very short time. So be aware of that. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and into the new year. I have special videos that I've prepared for you guys, such as the top, love and money stories for each sign in 2026, especially just for your sign. And we also have 12 more videos coming out on New Year's Day that are all about January 1st, the overview for your sign in the year ahead. And for those people who have bought my 2026 individual signs and all signs bundle, I'm so grateful. You've helped me create a scholarship fund for students to study with me, hire some more staff, and be able to also buy equipment as I need it. And my ring light is just about to give out, so I'll be needing one of those as well. So I'm so grateful. That sale price is still on through until January 1st. If you look in my description box, those videos are 2 hours long. They're chronologically ordered. They're deep dived. There's a 2026 PDF guidebook for your sign. And of course, you can listen for sun, moon, and rising. Sun, career purpose, and true self. Rising, your simulation avatar in the matrix, highly sensitive to change. And of course, the sun, the moon, which represents how you feel and think about your life, but also home, nest, and home and nest related matters. Okay. I always joke about every 18 and 19 years, I get that darn eclipse to my moon, and I move every time it eclipses my home. So we have so much going on in the world. Let's take a downtime together and get away from the drama of it all. And instead, let's tap into the wisdom of the Oracle today. So after I finish this little card draw for your sign, and I'm highly intuitive, you'll be able to watch the free show, a replay of my class on the 5 top psychic tips for you and how you can use these tools. I teach the tools, and I think you'll find them fun. Just so you know, when I talk about remote viewing is just a way to harness your psychic powers that we all have. But we all have some level of intuition, and we can practice it and we get better. Practice does make perfect. But the remote viewing protocol is just to help you navigate without emotion and without bias through your intuitive perceptions. That's all that means, really. But I remember when I first learned how to remote view, and I'll tell the story here. Some of you know it. I was already a practicing clairvoyant, seeing clients in Annapolis, Maryland, and around the world through my phone and recordings and stuff. And I got drawn into a remote viewing session with Dale Graff in his Chesapeake Bay home. He was teaching for a whole weekend people how to remote view. And here I was, basically a stay-at-home mom and housewife with a side hustle as a psychic in a room full of men and women, about 12 of us learning how to remote view for 2 days. And at the end of the remote viewing session, he had created a manila envelope, big, brown envelope with some kind of diagram or photograph in it. And none of us knew what was in there. And I'm not sure he did either. I think he might have been double blinded. Like someone else chose the photo, like his wife, put it in the envelope. And then we all, at the end of the whole, like Sunday, late in the day, 4:00, I think it was September of 1997. I think it was 97. I was pregnant with my daughter. No, it was September of 98. We all had to hold the envelope, jot down our remote viewing impressions, and come up with an answer. And we all went around the circle. And I think I'm the only one who saw what I saw. I don't remember anyone else saying anything like me. And I said, well, this is what I got. I got 3 images. I got a horseshoe, like a horseshoe. I got a sound of roaring water. So I saw, I heard. And then the third thing I saw was an eagle flying above the Niagara Falls. Oops. Flying in the sky. So I saw a bald eagle, a horseshoe, and roaring water. And so when it came my turn to disclose my results to the group, and we still didn't know what was in the envelope, I said, well, I think it's Niagara Falls. But I refrained from saying anything about the bald eagle. And the reason was I was a shamanic practitioner and I studied with shamans around the world. I kind of didn't, I thought it was my totem ally animal. I didn't think it was actually a part of the data, and I excluded it. So then he came over and handed me the envelope in that living room, and I opened it up and I just about fell off my own chair. It was an image of Niagara Falls. So I saw the horseshoe and I heard the roaring water, and I compared the two because those make me think of Niagara Falls. So that is to say that remote viewing, and I teach a tool on my 5 tips that's similar to remote viewing, much simpler version of it for you. You can get your own answers in life, guys. You don't need to listen to us. I'm going to put myself out of business as an astrologer. I create a Facebook group as well for people who've taken the course who want to join me there. And I'm having fun. We're all practicing together and we're learning together and we're doing psychic stuff together. And for me, this is just joyful. This is just fun. This is something that brings me pleasure. It's a playground. It's called the Psychic Sandbox on Facebook. And if you want to join us there, you can as well. I'll put a link to the Facebook group down below in case some of you, it's free. Some of you don't want to watch the 5 tips, but you should watch the 5 tips or the 5 top super easy and fun techniques psychically. Start with Aries. Should we start with Aries? Sun, Moon, and Rising from Colette Baron-Reid's Wisdom of the Oracle. What is your number 1 bit of a guidance? This is just for fun for 2026 based on the Oracle. And I got the tick-tock clock, fellow Aries. Are we not all looking at the tick-tocking of the clock these days as time seems to be flying by faster and faster and faster? I think so. Don't forget, if you like this video, please subscribe. A lot of times you guys think you're subscribed and you're not. You might have been bot scrubbed. I had a massive bot scrub in the last month, so you might be one of them. Essential meanings, timelessness, divine timing, and immeasurable time. And so it talks in basically about humans created time and everything changed and it contracted. Now there's 2 types of time, right? Chronos and Kairos. Kairos time is that like divine immeasurable time, and Chronos is like our watches. People have come to look at life in a linear way, imagining that the past is behind them and the future is ahead of them. But, fellow Aries, what if it isn't true at all? What if everything, creativity, beauty, chaos, and order were happening now in a glorious timelessness? You have all the time in the world to co-create the life that you desire, fellow Aries, Sun, Moon, and Risings. So release your agenda. Let go of your need to shape each moment to your expectations, knowing that what is yours will never be withheld from you. Miracles are here right now and always show up when you need them right on time. Well, I'm going to roll with that one as an Aries sun and moon. I encourage you to do the same. Now we're going to draw a card for Taurus, sun, moon, and rising sign. And I hope you guys are having a festive Christmas, that some of you are experiencing time with friends and family. I think I'm going to be with my kids and their partners. Taurus, to the sea, to the sea. Let's see what the Taurians, sun, moon, and rising need to think about this year as a general going into the new year message for you. Number 7. by Colette Baron-Reid from the Wisdom of the Oracle. I do like this book a lot, this guidebook. Being in the flow, Taurus, returning to source, recognizing how pieces fit together, and a natural pattern of events. Isn't it wonderful when you feel yourself in the flow of life, when events and conditions seem to engage you in a way that is fluid and effortless? This card reminds you, Taurus, that you are going with the flow, that going with the flow is exactly what you need to do right now. When I hear going with the flow, I always think of lying on a tube in a river raft, on those floaty tubes, and everything's really calm and you just let the current carry you. Ride the wave of opportunity that is formed by perfect conditions and allow trust and faith in 2026. Allow trust and faith to guide you forward as you, Taurus, flow like a river into the sea of life. I mean, who doesn't want that one? Oh my God. It tells you that letting go and going with the flow is going to take you exactly where you need to be. I keep wanting to actually do something like pull up my astrology chart, realizing I'm not doing astrology for a change. Wow. Kind of feels like a relief. Let's go ahead and let's talk about, because I've got a lot of next year's astrology coming up for you guys, so stay tuned. So now we're going to draw a card for the Gemini, Sun, Moon, and Rising sign, and you have time to go. Card number 45, time to go. Well, I have a progressed Gemini Sun, although your progressed placements are not as crucial. Oh, and check my members only. I have a course, a mini class on how to find your progressed sun, how to do that in my join members button below. I always forget to promote the fact that I've got a new membership community here. 45. Hit the join button. I put out little mini teachings and also we do live streams. I just started it for a month, so hang in there. 45. All 200 of you have joined. 45. This is for Geminis. Time to go. This is your 2026 vibe message, right? Endings and completion, walking away from something because there's nothing else to learn or to experience. Oh, you guys aren't going to like this. You're not going to like this. This is interesting for me as a Gemini sun. I started this channel 7 years ago and something's got to give. I've got to change it up for me because I find that I need more variety in life. So I don't know if I'm adding different stuff to my channel or starting a new channel. There's something going on in my soul that wants to make some changes. You are at the end of one journey and have not yet begun the next. This is the moment to bless your experience thus far. Take stock, Gemini, of what you have learned, and it's time to move on to new experiences and a new way of being. There is nothing left for you to do or to experience in your present circumstances. Yeah, like I keep saying, how long can I be the astrological weather girl? I mean, guys, I'm into meditation, enlightenment, Eckhart Tolle, the Awakened Dreamer blog. I'm into the Wine Lover's Middle Way. There's so many other parts of my life that aren't astrology, and yet this channel has been quite the journey, and it does take a huge amount of my time. There's nothing left for you to do, to be, experience in your present circumstances, Geminis. Take the risk and move on, even if you need to be in a transition for a time. Your destiny is calling you. Well, I'm going to give myself credit for hitting the mark for at least my Gemini and my Aries placements. We're looking at Cancer's cheerful message. And don't forget, I have a join button for my members here. If you didn't see that, check out what I offer, including live streams. It's a lot of fun to be in an intimate members energy with you guys here. And don't forget, there's an intuitive part coming. Blessed 22. Well, 22 is a master number. Blessed or blessed. Proper way is blessed, FYI, I think. All right. Here is the essential meanings. Being fully present in the moment for Cancers in 2026 and living one day at a time. Everything happens in the now, in the present. Says Eckhart Tolle. You should read The Power of Now. Only this moment counts. You have what it takes to handle anything today if you let go of the need to look into the future or reflect on the past. Be present and notice what is going on right now. This very moment has the potential for you in 2026 to create miracles in your life. Yeah, I had a spiritual teacher years ago who did have one good point. He said, the more still we are and silent and quiet, like in the still point, the more miracles show up in our life because we are coming into contact with true divine power. So we're moving into, after Cancer, we have Leo. And you have regeneration. Like, okay, guys, don't be afraid of that one. Regeneration. It looks like a version of the death card. Number 46. Colette Baron-Reeve, Leo, 2026 vibe. Card number 46. 46. 46. And if you like this kind of weird content that I'm deviating and all of that, hit the like button. If you don't like it, don't worry. I still do astrology, but today we're breaking pattern. We're in a pattern interrupt on December 23rd for your drop on December 25th. For rebirth, second chances, and new opportunities. Okay? So, Leos, second chances are available to you now. Whatever opportunities you thought were dead are now revived in a more authentic and stronger form. Whatever you may have perceived as a failure or a loss is now being replaced by something better and more powerful growing in its place. The rebirth is assured. Step into your new life. Destiny is being fulfilled in wondrous ways. It sounds like, when we go through things that don't work out the way we want, this is telling you everything is working out the way it's meant to. Now for the next sign, which is Virgo, and I have so many Virgos in my life, my daughter, my best friend, surrounded by you guys. My ex-husband's current wife, I have Virgos everywhere. I'm friends with everybody. Well, let's go ahead and let's do a draw for Virgo, vibing out through 2026. What is your message? Co-create. Okay, Virgos, you know what that is about, right? Co-creation. Can't do it alone. It's your true essential nature, your still point or God, call it what you want, from which true co-creation occurs. 40 is number 40, which is also a very spiritual number. And it connects to Venus, the goddess of desire and pleasure, because we have 40 days and 40 nights in which she is retrograde every 2 years in one sign or two signs. So essential meanings for you guys, Virgo, sun, moon, and rising. Don't forget, check out my join button, join my channel, have fun with me, be a member. What is $350 United States dollars a month? Creativity, art, inspiration, and fruition and manifestation for Virgo folk in 2026. You may not consider yourself a creative person, but in fact, you are creating your reality every moment of every day via your thoughts, feelings, beliefs, intentions, and your actions. Yet, you must consider that you do so in partnership with spirit, consciousness, or God. I'd say also your still point, divine, quiet self within. Whatever name you call your higher power. You are a spark of this intelligence that works through you, nudging you with inspired thought and intuitive guidance. You are a paintbrush that co-creates a beautiful, unique expression of your own individuality blended with universal spirit. You are a product of divine inspiration, and now you are aligned to co-create miracles. When you view your life as art and know you co-create it, only beauty and only grace result. Prepare in 2026, Virgo, to be amazed. Moving from Virgo, we always land on the doorstep of Libra. And Libras, what is your vibe out message for a card draw for 2026? And remember, this is a vibe, right? This is how you're to own no place like home. That's very Dorothy as she taps her little shoes. No place at home, no place like home. Number 50. So maybe it's literal. Maybe you're going to be moving your home in 2026 to find this feeling of being at home. Some of the astrology supports that. Go watch my videos. All right, Libra, sun, moon, and rising, essential meanings. You are here in 26 to be authentic, to experience authenticity, coming home to yourself, feeling at home, arriving in a place where you just fit, being comfortable in your own skin. The Oracle's message is home feels safe and secure. It is a comfortable place to rest and to create. A place that is known and you can call yours. This card signals for Libras that your ability to trust yourself and feel at home in your own skin is beginning to solidify as you claim your dignity and your integrity, aspects of yourself that no one can take away from you. You know who you are. You hold your head high, yet with neither pride nor humility. Instead, Libra, you stand as the observer, seeing through the eyes of your soul. This puts you in a position of power and of strength. Authenticity is your home in 2026. You are safe here in the house of your spirit, the house of your spirit and spirit. And I wouldn't discount for some of you, there could be a homecoming to a new home in 2026. Let me know in the comments, Libras, of any thinking you might be changing your home. Having a day where I can't figure out if I'm comfortable in a what do you call this kind of wool? Merino wool, maybe? No. Anyway, wool. Let's go ahead and let's do Scorpio. And I'm wearing red because it's Christmas. I don't have any green clothing, but it's supposed to be the Christmas spirit. Scorpio, Sun, Moon, and Rising 2026, you are between worlds. Between worlds. Oh my goodness gracious. How cool is that? Flamingo between worlds. Number 3. Number 3 for Scorpios. All right, Scorpio, here's your vibe, 2026. Transitions not being quite out of this. Okay, you're in a time of transitions. You're not quite out of one situation yet, not fully engaged in another, right? Like it's like straddling the worlds. Temporary blindness and no man's land. Between the worlds is where you must let go of the tendency to make assumptions. This is a time in 2026, Scorpio, when you are unable to see what's ahead. Listen to the 5 tips for using your psychic ability. All right. Keep going. Watch that part of the video. Cultivate curiosity. Trust the process of change and growth. You are done learning and you get the siren, Scorpio. I know you won't hear it, but there's a siren outside my window. You are done learning the lessons of recent experiences in this place between what was and what will be, in a state of making and unmaking and making again. What's essential now, Scorpio, in 26 is to admit not knowing. There's great freedom and power to be unleashed. A mystery that is not yours to understand weaves the web of life within divine matrix of consciousness, greater than your own thoughts, feelings, beliefs, desires, and decisions. The seeds that were planted in the past begin to take root in 2026, but what surfaces will probably not be what you expect. When you are between the worlds, you are invited to see with curious eyes of a child glimpsing the rainbow for the first time. Do so, and you will not be disappointed. You know, in this ancient world, the metacosmos, between or beyond the world's houses, were houses 9, the house of God, 3, the house of goddess, and 12 and 6, considered to be difficult houses, bad spirit, and all of that stuff. But I'm saying there is part of astrology that takes us in the in-between as well. So funny enough, I have a Scorpio girlfriend who actually has something similar in her email address, right? That connects to the theme. I think her email address, I won't give you the rest of it, is Walks Between Worlds. Okay, so we're moving beyond Scorpio, okay? And we're moving into the sign of Sagittarius. And so we're going to talk about your sign and what you vibe out with in terms of oracular guidance in 2026, Sag, Sun, Moon, and Rising. You need to go the distance like that cheetah lunging and across a desert with a flag. Wow, go the distance. So, okay, Sag, what are you doing in the go the distance vibe? 47. Don't forget to check out my members join button down below. Don't forget to watch the video on the 5 tips you can use and join my Facebook community. We're just playing there, the Psychic Sandbox. It's meant to be fun. I'm not teaching you. I'm playing with you. Number 47, go the distance. Essential meaning, endurance, strength, and the long haul in 2026 for Sagittarius. To bring your dream to life in 2026, you must think long-term and pay no attention to the fluctuations and the currents of your experience. Joy and disappointment commingle in 26 with opportunities, so there's no need to fear the occasional obstacle. Life is not a sprint. This card is a reminder you have endurance, you have strength and fortitude to carry you all the way. No kidding. You've got Saturn going into Aries, trining your sign. That is your endurance, stamina, and fortitude. You've got it in spades in 26. Remain true to yourself. Your authenticity alone will keep you in alignment with the energy of miracles. What is yours will never be withheld. Remember that. Yes, guys, it's an endurance test when Saturn is activating your sign by fire trine. But Saturn gives you resilience as well. You know, it's not like slog. I love Saturn. He's my planet. Moving past Sagittarius into, hope I don't miss a sign. You know, my brain sometimes fires left and right. After Sagittarius, being me, is Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Ho, 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 ho. All right. Check out the members join button. Okay. Capricorns down below. Come join me in my membership, live streams, mini teachings, content that's too controversial and would be demonetized on YouTube. The tribe. Okay, Cappies. The tribe, you know, the people that you want to be with. And tribes are not just, tribes are familial sometimes, and sometimes there are chosen tribe, right? We don't always have family we want to be with. So then the question is, what and whom are you tribing with? Okay, Capricorn. Community, belonging, being seen and being understood by others, like-minded connections, a sense of family and friendship, and knowing your place in the world in 2026. This card signals a new affiliation with a group. Humans are social creatures. In 2026, that's your thing, social creature. We need to know we are useful to our tribes, our families, and our communities. Capricorn, in a tribe, everyone has an important function and feels I matter. Membership in the group provides a sense of belonging, of kinship, and purpose that comes from working together for the greater fulfillment of all. Perhaps you are part of a spiritual community or an artistic one, or perhaps you will be learning community where you share your love of education in a learning community, where you share your love of education. Regardless of its form or its focus, your community will bring you joy in 2026. You'll be inspired by it. You'll want to contribute to it. Your contribution may be small, as showing up, as large as becoming its leader. No matter what your position within the tribe, your presence is needed. I can think right away of two Capricorns who tend to be solitary beasties and need more tribe, if you ask me. Okay? Two people I know in my private life. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is the next sign, which will be me, Aquarius. I'm rising, and this is for Aquarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising, our vibe card of 2026. Don't forget to check my membership and join on YouTube. It's only $3.50 American a month. Also, don't forget to watch the 5 tips at the end of this part of the video. Why? Because you'll want to learn how to tune into your own stuff and not rely on psychic readers all the time online or astrologers. Milk and honey. Oh, well, I mean, there's a rainbow there. There's a rainbow there, guys. There's milk, honey, an elephant in a pot of like latte or cappuccino. What could be wrong with that? All right. We're getting some milk and honey, fellow Aquarians. Let's see what we've got. 51. Anytime I see a rainbow, I just smile. My biggest life synchronicities have happened with feathers, rainbows, and balloons. Number 51. All right, Aquarius, you can't make this up. I really did draw this for us. All right, for Aquarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising in 2026, we're vibing out with the taste of prosperity, opportunities born of authenticity, nurturing abundance, and trusting our needs will be met. Oh, thank you, God. I just had a lot of issues with prosperity anxiety in the last month or two. I won't even go into why. The Oracle's message: you've entered a sweet time in your life, enjoying the land of milk and honey that everyone wants to experience. Now, this is us in 2026. It's an interlude that is languid and ambitious, feels more languid than ambitious. And when all your senses are awake to the unlimited possibilities within the universe, these times are precious and only come when you're in the authentic zone, wearing the world as a loose garment. I want to comment on that after I finish. Not wanting yet able to be nourished in ways both tangible and subtle. Abundance is an energy that you are living a living part of. All your needs are being met, and you are given the gift of nourishment in every form. You know, I had a childhood experience that I'm not going to share here, but I just had a whole flashing image, remembrance of it, understanding of something happened when I was about 5 or 6, where the rug of safety was pulled out from underneath me. And a lot of my life, I felt this underlying young child anxiety about food, shelter, and water and safety. And so it has unfortunately led me in times to do work or jobs that I absolutely didn't like in order just to feel like I could survive. And I know we all do that. I'm not blaming you if you work in a department store retail and you hate your work. But I'm saying there is something beyond all of that for all of us. It's kind of when we rest easy a little bit more and trust that our needs can be met in ways that don't have to be about servitude and work that we hate. And you know what I mean? There are other ways, but when we're clutching, like I always think of like when you grab something tightly, right? Your hand is closed and there's no room for this to receive. And that's my big lesson in the last few months. Last 6 months, indeed. So if some of you fellow Aquarians are learning the same lesson, let me know in the comments how that's landing for you. Finally, it is Pisces, Sun, Moon, and Rising sign, the fishes of the zodiac, best and always best. What is the thing that you need to know? The vibe out, chill out vibe of your 2026 storyline. Message in a bottle. So funny. My sister Cindy is a very talented and gifted psychic reader. She uses the Lenormand Tarot as a amplitude enhancer for her psychic ability. And I just talked to her this morning, and she was trying to get her business back up and running after some health challenges. And she was having a come flat line of starting working again. Her name is Raven's Eye Oracle, by the way, .com. And she's legally blind, by the way. And, but she's psychically not. And we talked today and I recognized something, you know, she was holding herself back from succeeding. Is that crazy? We do that sometimes. We're our own worst enemy. And I don't know, message in a bottle is getting the message you need probably when you need it. But it was me who told her that about a month ago. So you're self-sabotaging for some reason. And she actually heard it from me, which is unusual for a sibling to listen to another sibling. And she put her business back up online and she's loving it. And she's doing well. And she's getting incredible feedback from her clients again. So yeah, message in a bottle. Hello, Pisces, Sun, Moon, and Rising sign. Communication, a sign, a claydon. I teach about the claydon. I teach about the claydon and the 5 psychic tips at the end of this part of the video. That's when you have a spontaneous message delivered by overhearing someone else's conversation, pointing the way to your highest good. Okay. The Oracle's message. Spirit sends you signs when you are asked for them, Pisces, and when you believe you will receive them, you must believe you will receive them. And when you allow yourself to become fluent in the language of symbols, oracles, and omens. Oh my God, I love that. That's a little bit about the rest of this class that follows this video. The 5 tips. They may come to you as a bird flying by, a logo on a truck, a song on the radio. Expect confirmation that you're pointed in 2026, Pisces, that you are pointed in the right direction. Keep your eyes and ears open, for some might say just the right thing that will give you the answer to your query. Today, in 2026, your message is this: Spirit hears you. Spirit hears you. And the reply is favorable. Ask and you shall receive from the Bible makes me think that we were always meant to ask for signs and we will receive them. You know, not that we're going to ask, can I have $1 million? Can I have a gold bullion, land on my doorstep? I think it was ask the question and receive the signs, not ask and you get a chunk of money. Hey, God, I could use a couple $1 million. So here it goes. In the following part of the video, you're going to be able to connect with this class that I taught that was a paid class. It was quite affordable. I only charged people $10 for it, but I think you'll enjoy the 5 psychic tips that are easy and fun to use. It's easy. Honestly, the class is short. There's only 10 slides that I'm sharing, but I'm talking about what I've learned, how to use these tools, and I'm cutting out the Q&A portion at the end so that people who didn't want to be all over YouTube certainly won't be all over YouTube. Thank you guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss a thing. Look for drops coming in a flood on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and into the next week, as I am going to put out a bunch of fun content with guest astrologers and myself, giving you guidance for 2026. And finally, my 2026 January All Signs Drop will probably be coming out on Saturday, just for the month of January. Everyone have a great holiday on Christmas Day, Boxing Day. Hopefully you're having some rest, some rejuvenation, and some love of family and friends around you. And if you're not, my heart goes out to you, and it will get better next year. Okay, take care and go ahead and watch the 5 tips. Hi guys, this is going to be a fun webinar on how to use these psychic hacks in your own life. We're not going to be here a long time. It's short and sweet, probably an hour. And we'll have some great discussions about this stuff as well. So I'll let you guys into the room. My name is Lori Lothian, Lunatic Astrology. I was a professional clairvoyant for years. I come by this honestly. Hi, gang. Welcome in. So we're going to start shortly. I'm just making sure everyone's in the room. And then we're going to talk about these little techniques. And I've made a little slideshow for fun so you can keep the PDF guidebook to remind yourself of what I've teaching you. But honestly, it's pretty simple anyway, but a lot of fun. And I'm letting everyone in. I think I saw Sinette in here. Hi, Fran. I see Fran's
Lori,
coming.
I am here. I'm more than willing to let people in for you.
Thank you. How are you feeling? Are you a bit better?
I am really well. So I'm going to blame Three Eye Atlas. I had waking sleep last night, if that's even possible.
Oh, wow. Yes. Well, that's a sign of enlightenment. So there you go. I don't know. It's been weird energy. I'm going to give you that much. I feel it too. Three Eye Atlas, a crazy, powerful galactic center new moon 2 days from now. And it feels a little bit like good old Chicken Little. The sky is falling. And, keeping our inner center with the chaos around us at this time. All right. Yeah, I made you co-host, Sinette. Hi, Fran. I just saw you coming in. I hope you're well in PEI. You guys can say where you're from if you want on the chat. We have I think it's going to be a nice, relatively small group. I think maybe a couple hundred people signed up, but usually get half the people showing up. And as I said, I made a short and sweet slideshow for you guys that you can have to keep as like a little guidebook. It will only be like 10 or 11 pages long. Oh, Fran was in and she left. She got bumped. So
Something weird is happening. I'm hitting admit all, and normally that works, but it doesn't seem to be.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay, it's Fran. She keeps on trying to come back in. Okay, I apologize, Laurie. I won't bother you anymore.
Yeah, not to worry. She got knocked out, I think, for some reason. Some people do like have internet bounce out of a room once they get in here. I think I saw Atlanta, Chicago. I do like Chicago. I've only been there a couple of times, but it feels like I've been there in another life, probably during the time of, Al Capone or something, the 1930s. Okay, so we're going to get started today. I am recording, I never stopped it. Today is about 5 fun and easy to use tools for using or enhancing or practicing your psychic ability. The reason I'm qualified to share these tools with you is that I am not only a professionally trained remote viewer back in the day from the late 1990s from Project Stargate people, Fallout, early after the whole program shut down. And if you don't know what Stargate is, Stargate happens to be a group of people, scientists and stealthy spy types, NSA included, that decided they would try to see if they could match what Russia was already doing, which Russia was using psychics to like peer into like missile silos and the Oval Office and spy on the United States. And so they thought, can we do it too? And they created a protocol called remote viewing. And we'll be talking about that today. And I was trained under that protocol. However, I grew up with a very psychic childhood, a very witchy, weird, wonderful childhood. And all I can say about that is that I think permission granted not to be afraid of spooky stuff. And so I grew up feeling it was quite okay to have psychic stuff going on in my life. And so then I continued to develop it as I got to be an adult. So I'm going to be sharing my thoughts about psychic powers and individual people as well. The 5 tools are truly simple and fun. And some of you guys will find that 1 or 2 of these work better than others. So because there are 5 options doesn't mean you have to do all 5. Once you start to practice one over time, you'll find it really cool. I kind of thought it might be fun. When I send you the replay with the PDF later tonight, that I can send, and the people who didn't make it as well, I can send you a link to a Facebook group that I think just for fun, it'd be nice to gather and tell some of our super success stories practicing the tools. I love hearing when other people succeed at the tool they're learning, and I'd love to keep practicing it myself. And it's not a classroom. It's a collaborative community sharing of the experiences we might all experience using the tools. That's all. So it's not like I'm going to teach you anything there. It's just a fun place to gather. Okay, so I'm going to share the slideshow and we'll get started. Wow. Fran is like looping in and out. Do you see that, Sinette?
She is just, I keep on hitting admit, it says joining, and then she loops back in again.
Okay. She's in some kind of time warp, right? Let's do the time warp again. Like she's like some alternate universe. We both know Fran. She's a fellow astrologer. So if there's any problems letting anyone in, you need me to come back in. I don't know. You guys, I'm not doing astrology. I'm doing a slideshow. But if you need help, if I don't know if it makes any difference if the host or co-host tries to let her in or not, I doubt it would make any difference. Okay, let's navigate to the middle of my messy desktop. You guys get to see my messy desktop. Don't even ask. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. I just think that these are easy. I think that you don't have to be, born like, seeing ghosts in your bedroom. And so I think these are tools anyone can use. And I do think that one or two of these tools will really resonate and some of them won't. And I want to remind everybody that we're all born with different sensibilities. Forget about psychic power. I mean, some people are better at listening. Some people have a better imagination. Some people have more acute eyesight. We all have a way of interacting with our perceptual field. So when some of these abilities are being activated, if you were more of a gut feeling, a clair knowing, I just got a feeling I shouldn't go to that party. I had a terrible feeling about the flight that day. You would be called clairsentient, right? And you have a sensation of something. Whereas some people are very clairaudient. They actually hear an inner voice speaking to them. They can connect to words or they hear a song. They're hearing something in their inner ear, in their inner imaginal realm. And other people are clairvisual, clearly have high imaginations. Those are the types of people that when you do a guided meditation, which I teach a lot of, they come back with these elaborate, high detailed stories that like right out of like a, super hyper real technicolor visionary experience. And so that's also not true for everyone. So these tools allow you to use all of the ways of knowing, visual, auditory, sensate as well. So you're not stuck with, I just can't imagine anything. And there's actually some brain science now has done some research on people's inability to use imagery in their imagination. And it is a subset of the population, likely genetic. So, and it really impacts how they interface with the world. So there is that too. So don't feel bad if you're one of those people, because some people are one of those people, right? So no big deal. So psychic ability, or you could say intuition. Okay, so either one is the same thing, non-ordinary, extrasensory, not the five senses ways of knowing things. So extrasensory perception beyond the five senses. So, and it's not really for the privileged few. With very big thought patterns people have around that. And I will say it's a natural function of being a human being, and animals have it too. So, I mean, but we think about it and we have more uses for it cognitively than, say, the intuition of a cat or a dog. But nonetheless, I think all beings in the matrix have it. And the other part about this kind of idea, perceiving things that aren't on the regular sensory spectrum, is that quite often some people will be better at it than others, no matter what. And that's just like, if you think about how good are you at singing, that's often the metaphor. Like, if someone has spent a year or two training me as a vocalist, the best thing that'll happen is I won't always be completely off key, but there's no way that I have vocal range in this throat. I don't have the genetics to be an opera singer. And so you can be trained to use these tools very effectively, but there's going to be superstars at it, like the amazing Kreskin, or some of the people trained under the Project Stargate program. Ingo Swann was a superstar. So understand that you don't have to be a superstar to use it, because you're not going to go on TV and amaze the audience kind of thing. Now, was Kreskin really psychic, or was he a body reader? I don't know, but I'm just giving you some examples. Ingo Swann was psychic, and he was a professionally trained remote viewer, and he was one of their superstars. Okay. We'll talk about Ingo later, maybe. So don't feel bad about not being a superstar. All you need is enough to get by. Right? You don't need to be a race car driver. You just need to be a driver of your abilities. So you can get from A to B with some intuition, flow, luck, and ease, because your intuition will keep you safe. It will keep you safe the best it can from dangerous circumstances, but it also will allow you to make decisions with greater clarity that has less emotional and mental baggage around your decision-making powers. like breaking up with your husband or wife, or taking that flight, or taking that job. We make mind-based decisions and emotional-based decisions. And the Sufis say there's the feeling and then the thinking that are equally unreliable. What we have to move into is the knowing, and the knowing heart is what the name of it is in the cosmology of Sufism, the knowing heart versus the thinking and feeling. Okay. All righty. So practice does make perfect. The more I practice some of these tools, the better I gotten at them. And the ones I practice the least, I'm not so great at. So over time, I've refined my ability by doing them over and over again. So the first time you use a tool, you might not like it and you might find you're bad at it. But if you keep practicing, you might be good at it. So don't give up, especially in the beginning. All right. Trust is built over time. Trust with what? Trusting the oracle that you are. Because really, when I mean trust is built up over time, say you do a divining, psychic ability to divine the will of God, so to speak. Should I marry this man? And you get some kind of weird answer in your psychic tool that looks like a no. And you kind of suspect maybe this person could be a narcissist, but you go ahead and marry them anyway, right? Trust is built over time with the intuitive capacity you have, because you learn from your mistakes. I can't count the times that I didn't trust my intuition to buy a stock that was just about to rocket. I can kick myself 1,000 times for these intuitive hits that came to me, and I hesitated. That's one of my big things, not trusting my intuition on money matters, whereas I trust it more easily on professional and love stories. So over time, you begin to see when I don't listen to my inner knowing, I wished I did. When I did listen, I'm so happy I did. And you begin to trust the intuitive faculty. And the more trust you build and the more practice you have, the more refined it is, the more fast moving and easy it is, and the better outcomes you have. So it's a journey, right? It's a journey. And I know that one of our psychics is here today. I saw Marlene Felton come in, so she'll probably nodding her head at all these lessons. Once you see results, you'll never go back to your muggle land and how you navigate through life. I don't make any major life decisions for the last 30 years without going into my intuition first. Ever, ever, ever. Astrology is a tool that allows for a kind of a backbone or a scaffold for intuition as well, just the same as tarot cards. And it is reliable, like mechanically speaking, because it's cycle repetition and pattern recognition. But you have to apply intuition, if you're an astrologer, to the astrology, because there's so many variables about how this could express. And it's your intuition that tells you the likelihood in the way it will manifest. So example, Neptune could be drug addiction and mental illness in your future, or, fantasies and dreams come true and enlightenment. And your intuition as a reader for professional astrologers is going to need to be there, or you'll call it based on some kind of linear cookbook of what this might be without tuning in to see, is that really what's happening for this client? So there's not an astrologer worth their salt that you would want to go to see who isn't also capacity wise using intuition. So these are the tools. There's more, but these are the ones that are simple, and these are the ones that are fun. So I'm calling them the receptive ear, the all-knowing body, the oracle of the pages, the remote viewing doors, and the doors is a fun reason. I'll get to that in a minute. And ask and ye shall know. I just had to come up with fun ways to describe them. It was kind of fun to try to think about naming the things I use all the time. So this is my list. I came up with for you guys today. And don't forget, I am giving you the slideshow because there's kind of some instructions in this as well. And we can playfully do one or two of the tools together today and take questions, of course. So in the ancient tradition, it's called Cladoncy or Cladon. And it is, I call it the psychic ear, in the sense you're going to let your ear become the receiver of intuitive information that you need to hear. And we don't mean your inner ear. We mean your real ear that hears the siren blaring, the honking horns, the person shouting in the neighborhood, whatever, the real ear. That's what makes this a very simple tool, because you don't have to go, my inner ear. No. This is like your ear, drum ear. So if you're deaf and you don't have an ear that works, this is not your tool. But if you have an ear that works, this is your tool. Now, it is really old. It's thousands of years old. Ancient Greece, ancient Persia. I mean, people have been using the tool. They call it different things, but it's an ancient oracular device, a tool that has been used for a long time. So this is right out of this write-up by Pausanias, right, of Cladonism. And it kind of goes like an individual upon whispering a question into the god's ear, plugged his own ears, left the agora, which is the temple, and then listened for the god's answer among the chance words of pedestrians. This was likely popular because the individual, now this is just Wikipedia, this was likely popular because the individual selectively chose which words formed the answer. So let me explain this to you in simple terms. I think I want to go on a trip to, I don't know, let me pick a place, I don't know, Bali. Well, Bali's not a good one because that's not, I got a better one. I say I want to go, this has actually happened to me. I want to take a trip to France. Okay. And I'm thinking maybe it's not the best time in my life to take that trip. I wonder if I should go. I have a question in mind and I've clearly got the question in mind. I choose the time to set the Cladon in motion. Well, obviously, I'm not going to hear anything in my home alone. So that's useless unless I'm going to flip through the radio or podcast, which I could do, but that's kind of priming it a little bit. The traditional Cladon is to go out into a public space and then listen for what you randomly hear, like an eavesdropping of other people's conversations. So I remember having this time, I thought it was a trip somewhere. I don't remember. It was an exotic country or it was some trip I was going to take. And I used this tool to double check if I should go. And it's like in the Starbucks lineup, and the lady and the two ladies behind me were chattering about their terrible trip to France. Okay. I mean, like I'm using France because I can't remember what country it was. And it wasn't just they were talking about France. They're talking about everything they didn't like and what went wrong. And then, so, okay, don't go to France. Now, if I really didn't like that Cladon and I was like, maybe I need more information, I would probably give it a day or two. And I would just ask myself, I'm in the grocery store, I'm in the gas pump, I'm wandering through the park. And if I overhear a conversation with some information about France and whether or not it's right for me, like maybe I walk by someone that's France is awful these days. And every time you go there, the people are so rude. I mean, so you have to keep your ear open. It's best to keep it within a time frame. You don't want the oracle to be answering your question for a year. So, pick a time frame, say I need information through my ear in the next 24 hours or the next 3 days, if you want to be generous with the oracle, and you need to be out and about. But technically the Cladon can also work like you're driving in your car and you just turn the radio on and the first thing you hear is they're talking about some difficult times in France where the peasants are revolting or something. So you can use that too, the radio. But if you listen to the radio long enough, you've had it on all day, I'm sure you'd hear something about your question. So it's more like casually knowing that through things like a radio broadcast, perhaps a podcast, traditionally it's being out and about in public, the chance encounters with the words of others that are uncannily answering your question. And what this is activating is faith and trust in the process, because literally you don't have to do any inner psychic visioning or anything. It's just asking the universe to reflect directly back at you the answer you need through your auditory apparatus. And I've got a lot of times in my life where I've chosen to use this, but even sometimes when I haven't asked for a specific help, right? Where indeed I just have been pondering like, oh, is that the right direction to go? And I'll have a chance eavesdropping moment in a public setting or something like that that gives me the answer as well. So sometimes it's just operating as well in my life on the background of my reality, but you certainly can put it into motion. So hopefully everyone loves this one because it's simple. And if you say you do it and you give the oracle 3 days to answer you and nothing happens, maybe there isn't an answer. Rather than thinking the tool isn't working, what I've noticed when I'm using my psychic tools, there are 3 answers, not 2. It's not yes and no. It's not red light, green light. It's red light, yellow light, green light. No, maybe, yes. There are really 3 options in any given question. And the intermediate yellow light or the place of indeterminacy means that the answer isn't ready yet. Like, there's other variables playing out. Should I take this job? And it's sort of like you can't get the answer. It's say this technique or any of the other techniques I'm going to give you. There might be a variable that's in play, like a coin toss. It's in the superposition is what we would call it in quantum physics. It would be between the worlds, like both things are true at once, but it hasn't collapsed a wave function into this or that. And so when you don't get an answer, there is no answer. It's not the oracle's not paying attention to you. Like the universe isn't responding. It means wait, see what happens. Take some time out from the question. So your body is a pendulum, like people who use the real pendulum. I am not a user of the pendulum very often. This is another tool you can use in the very same way you can use your body. I find it's easier for me to influence the movement of a pendulum in my hand through micro movements quite often. But you can get around that by blindfolding yourself to the question. A pendulum is your body as well. I find my body are more reliable than dangling an object from my hand that's going to swing back and forth, like maybe front to back is a yes and sideways is a no, or a circle is a yes and a back and forth is a no. You have to tell the pendulum to code for what you like, the signal with the dangling thing on your hand. However, the body doors, I call it, or the all-known body, using my body as a pendulum has been an incredibly accurate tool. And if you're not a clairvisual or clairaudient and you're a clear knowing, I get a feeling about it, your body is your tool. It is your tool. If you can never imagine anything, or your inner ear is like deaf or something, then you want to use your body, which would be the pendulum in your hand. But I find the body is less likely to be perturbed, right? By your hands, jiggly movements as you hope for the best answer. The body is not going to perturb itself and be wrong as much as this tool of dangling a crystal from your hand. Even the crystal dangling from your hand could get a draft from a wind or a fan, a microcurrent. You're not even aware of it. So use your body because it's not going to move because of a microcurrent of drafty or air conditioning in the room. So the all-knowing body. So it is a divining rod, more like a pendulum is a divining rod too, like a tool that allows us to answer something without thinking about it, with movement. Movement is the resource. You need to calibrate your body, first of all, because what I mean is you need to know that which movement is a yes and a no. A simple way to do that, because you're going to stand up with your body swaying, in certain directions with your feet on the ground. I should put my feet about hip width apart, but whatever, so you don't want to topple over and fall down when your body's swaying. But to calibrate, you could always say, my name is Lori. And then ask your body, is that true? And if your body is going to say yes, because my name is Lori, whatever it does, it sways forward. My sister's name is Nancy. My body sways forward. When I use my body as a pendulum, my body moves forward without any volition from me, I start to tilt forward, standing up on the floor. I usually have bare feet, but you can use shoes, doesn't matter. I wouldn't use high heels. Then I know it's a yes. And my body leans backwards for a no. Is my name Sabrina? No. But when my body's, and that's my pre-calibration, you could do the reverse. But then when my body is going to kind of like sway sideways when I'm standing up, a little bit like kind of this, that's the indeterminate one. There's no answer. I have to just stop the question. It's like a maybe. So that's great. Now, what you want to do with this tool, and it was going to be very true for almost every tool, is you're going to get rid of the enemy of your intuition. Okay? The enemy of your intuition is your thinking, feeling complex. Because if you think that your whole life will end if you don't get that job, or if you feel like you'll be emotionally collapsed if the marriage doesn't work or something, your fear, your emotions, your anxiety, your emotions, your worry, your emotions, your thoughts that catalyze those emotions are getting in the way of a correct answer. And in fact, every single psychic tool is based on blindfolding the conscious mind connected to the thoughts and the feelings we have. Otherwise, we're going to be contaminated in our answers, which is why it's often easier to read for strangers that you have no emotional attachment to than it is to do it for yourself or your close loved ones. So, the first thing you do is you get a bunch of index cards or pieces of paper. It doesn't matter. Something that has two sides and you can write on one side. You're going to write down a bunch of questions that you care about. You don't want to make it like every question is like do or die. Like you don't want to put the most important questions of your life into one stack, because then you're going to already be worried about the entire stack of questions. So you throw what we call control questions in. Things that you really couldn't care less about. Will Amber Heard win the court case? Will Justin Baldoni go to jail? Well, you can ask celebrity questions. You can ask questions about friends and family. You can ask questions about, will, the Blue Jays win the tournament in baseball. And so by putting questions in about frivolous things that you would be curious about, but not devastated about one direction or the other, you put controls into the deck. Those are controls, and they're neutral questions that have very little emotional attachment. And there's another way to stack the deck full of controls for neutrality as well, which is to have friends send you questions. Like, I mean, literally, give your friends a bunch of index cards the same size, obviously, because you want to have consistency and conformity. And then when you see them next, say, did you write 5 questions down for me? And they say, yes. And you said, I don't want to see them. I'm going to put them in my stack. So when I was using this tool many times over the years, I would have quite a stack on my side desk or whatever. I have maybe 40 cards, friends questions, my own questions, frivolous questions. Obviously, if you have a really time sensitive question, like it's relying on you needing to have an answer within a week, then of course you can't go to the giant stack. You'd have to have a shorter stack with some frivolous questions mixed into your all-important question. But always remember to mix the deck with questions that are lighthearted and not life-changing. That way, when you're addressing the cards with your body, that some of these, you won't be thinking every question matters. You won't get frozen in fear about which way you're moving your body. Okay. So you just calm your mind. Breathe deeply. You want to kind of be more in a neutral mindset. Just calming your body is good enough, right? Because sometimes I've done these when I'm listening to a podcast and it's still just as accurate, but I've been doing it for years. But for the most part, I find visually calming myself the easiest way to do it. So I often stare out a window at the sky, like at the horizon line, and from wherever vantage point I can in my home. Because then I'm like kind of in that, that soft gaze, the far off horizon. Sometimes I have calm, chill Apple music in the background to kind of make the vibe if you want, because I find it's better to be as best you can in a state of more spacious stillness within your mind. Now, even if you're not, your body's going to bypass that problem. But it's certainly, I think, a little bit better if you can try for the calm or still or chill space vibration when you're doing this technique. I do it in the morning before my day gets too busy and I start to feel overwhelmed with tasks. So my mornings are usually quite quiet. I get up at 6 a.m. So this works for me as a morning practice. Okay. Now, if I had 10 index cards, some of them are stacked with frivolous or questions about people I don't care about. And some of them are really important to me, right? I care a lot about the answers, right? I now have those on the floor, spread out in front of me, upside down. The writing is on the other side. I've never looked to correlate it. And when I stand on that piece of paper or that index card and have the pieces of paper or cards the same size, right? Because when you write your question, you might remember, oh, this was the smaller piece of paper. You don't want no differential here in the size of the pieces of paper. Just stand on it, sway forward and pick, and it's a yes. Stop swaying, pick up your piece of paper and stick it on a counter and call it the yes pile, the no pile, and the maybe pile, right? Knowing which way your body calibrates. The majority of people will move forward for a yes and backwards for a no, because I think the body goes, I want to move toward it and I want to move away. But you could be an outlier. So you have to calibrate your body's way of communicating. And when you get your piles all done, like there's a stack of yeses, nos, and maybe one maybe, who knows, then you sit down and read them and see what your body was telling you to each of those questions. And you'll be surprised, because you have to learn to practice is perfect and trust the oracle over time, build up trust in the relationship to this intuitive tool. But more often than not, it will be accurate. And it's so funny because I have an ongoing stack of answers and I collect my little answers in a little, this is like a little vintage, shot glass. Vintage shot glass. And these are the little papers, all the same size. And I collect my yeses in here. And then every now and then I go through my yeses and I see, because there are things that might have gone back 4 months ago about other people. And I see yet that I was right. So I get to encourage myself to continue using the tool. But also sometimes I'll ask a question over and over again for somebody. So I got a fellow I know, and he's trying to get into this relationship with this woman, and it's moving slow and it's long distance and it's not quite taken off. And he's a good friend. So I always throw him into the pack. And every single time I do it, I get the same answer. So it's like consistency as well. All right. So that's fun. That's easy, and it doesn't require an imagination. It requires a body that can move. Now, that's not great for some people, right? You could be in a wheelchair. And I know you can muscle test. I don't find muscle testing works particularly well for me. That's another tool, kinesiology. I think that if you can't stand up, you could probably sit on the paper, right? Because you're wheelchair bound, and get erect and enough space to move back and forth on the wheelchair. Or you can hold it in your hand, right? You can hold it in your hand and you can see if you can move back and forth within the range of motion for an answer. You probably can. So I stand on it. I don't know why. You could hold it in your hand. I think standing on it is symbolic. For me, I'm rooting into the question. I'm rooting into the question with my body. So probably it's just as good to stand with it in your hands, as long as you're not reading the piece of paper already. Okay, the Oracle of the Pages. Any pages will do. And it's really good in a pinch, right? I don't have time to write down cards and sway my body. Too much work. I'm not going to go out into the town hall marketplace and listen for the Oracle to speak through someone else's eavesdropping of somebody else's conversation. So this is a fast and dirty, and it works really, really well. So, for example, we can use a dictionary. We can use a fiction or nonfiction book. This is where we don't want to all go digital. It's good to have books around the house, right? Oh my God, I've got so many more tools that I use, but this one I like a lot when I'm in a hurry. Okay. And I just want to get a quick answer. And so you close your eyes, you get calm, you get still, close your eyes, you ask a question. Now, there's two ways to do this tool. You can know the question, and you can also single blind yourself, which means that just like you have questions on index cards, you can take one of your index cards, not knowing what you're answering, you can hold it. Instead of swaying your body, you're going to flip through the pages of a book and randomly land on a page and put your finger on a word or a paragraph. Now, when you do it that way, to do it with index cards or, blind questions, that there are questions in this deck of cards that you care about, but you won't know which one you're answering. I don't usually do that with the Oracle of the Pages. I just let my finger land on the page. So it's not a blind question. I know what I want to know the answer to, but how can I possibly really manipulate my finger landing on a random page of a book, landing on a word, landing on a sentence, or landing on a paragraph? So one of my favorite stories with this book technique that I still can't believe how well it worked for me. Oh my God. So I was supposed to go on a BBC documentary in my late 30s because I was being pulled in by this Telegraph of Project Stargate, because his main remote viewer got sick. And Dale was going to be demonstrating on a Frontiers of Consciousness research documentary for the BBC, British Broadcasting System or whatever, corporation, how remote viewing works. But he needed a really good remote viewer to do it. Now, I was good, but he was just starting to train me, and I was new and just learning. But it turns out I'm a superstar, like Ingo Swann. So he asked me if I would do it. Now, I'm so shy back then. Like you have no idea how shy I am. I'm in my 20s and 30s, and I'm not autistic anyway. And the whole thing felt overwhelming, but I always have an Aries I'll try anything once. So I said yes. And that maybe it was 2 weeks before the date. He was training me on the phone every night. We both lived in Maryland, like practice makes perfect. And then we got to the day before the event. And now we got a whole camera crew arriving at his Chesapeake Bay house over the Chesapeake Bay on a cliff, about half an hour from my house in Annapolis, Maryland. A whole camera crew is arriving. It's all set. There's no getting out of this thing, no changing the schedule or anything like that. And the day before, I start to have a sore throat, low-grade headache, and I think I'm getting sick. And I'm like, oh my God, can I cancel on him? And I'm thinking, what if I'm, really not well tomorrow? I mean, like I feel rough today. And this was actually weirdly timed. I think it was September maybe that year. So it's not even flu season. Anyway, what I did was I said, I need a quick answer because I have to tell him in advance so he can try to find somebody else to take my place. Right. So I got the dictionary off my bookshelf and I closed my eyes and it said, is it my highest and best good? I always say highest and best good. That's my phraseology. Is it my highest and best good to do this filming tomorrow with Dale, with the BBC? And I closed my eyes and I put my finger through the dictionary And you won't believe what I landed on, right? And don't forget, you're not looking for yes, no, because it's a dictionary. You could get it. You're looking for the word that's going to give you the meaning of a yes or no. Because I'm asked to be a psychic reader on the BBC documentary being filmed by a camera crew, like way intense energy for me. And the answer was Oracle. I landed on the word Oracle. Yes, I can do the Oracle job tomorrow. I can be the Oracle on camera. All right. I, in fact, did a very good job of that. I'll explain that in my next slide in a minute. But the day after the filming, I was in bed for a week. I had the flu, but I managed to push off deathly ill until the day after the filming. So I really was getting sick. So yeah. So that's why I like this technique in a pinch, right? It's simple, it's fast, and it's effective. If you don't like what you land on, that's a problem. You go, oh, it might be the wrong thing. I should try it again. Don't do that. If you get the answer that you don't like and it's clear, like the answer, you know that that word means what it means. Like, is it my highest and best good to stay in this relationship? And then the answer, you land on toxic. You know, if you ask and ask again, we call it flooding the oracle. You are instead of practice make perfect and building the trust, you are doing a trust debit in the trust account of you and the oracle. You're debiting from the trust account. And therefore, you are literally not going to be able to work that into another answer. It just won't work. And the oracle begins to tune out to you. Your intuition says, you're not listening. So I'm not listening to you anymore either. So watch that happen. It'll happen when you don't like it. So you keep stabbing at the dictionary or the book over and over for a better answer. And you'll realize over time that the first answer was the real answer. All right. Now, this is where we get into remote viewing. So remote viewing is based on the idea that the least interpretation your mind makes of things, the better you are. Like the less you analyze, interpret, and meaning make, the more accurate your psychic abilities are. So in the actual remote viewing training, for example, we are trained to have impressions. And the impressions are coming through in our visual and auditory inner ear and inner imagination, and sometimes sentient, right? Like you might have a body sensation, visual imagery, colors, shapes, sounds. And the technique is, as a remote viewer, when you remote view, you don't know the target, right? So you're blinded. You don't know, the targets are going to be numbers like X, T, W, Y, V, R. And you have no idea what that is. It could be a person, a place, a thing, a situation, a future event, like what will happen will Trump win the presidency? So you're targeting numbers. You have no idea what's behind the numbers, what they really mean, but you're not allowed to start interpreting. And the failure of remote viewing, unless you blind yourself to the question and you refrain from interpretation, is it's contamination of the intuitive data with the thinking, feeling mind. So for example, I'm always talking about this particular woman on YouTube who does not remote view blindly. She remote views by knowing what she's asking. And she's an ardent Zionist and she's anti-Trump. And 9 out of 10 times, if anyone went back to watch her show, even though people keep going there, she was wrong. Right? She's a proclaimed Zionist and a proclaimed anti-Trump person. So she's not doing remote viewing. I don't know what she calls it remote viewing, but it's not remote viewing. When you're remote viewing, like say you're getting a target, I'll use me as an example. So when I was learning to remote view the very first time with Del Graff in his home with a bunch of other people, taking a class basically for a weekend class, a whole weekend, all day, Saturday and Sunday. The whole first day was learning how to quiet the mind, still the mind, bring your mind into a more peaceful place. But I was already operating as a clairvoyant psychic with clients. So I didn't need that whole first day of training. For me, it was nothing. But the second day training and the end day of results was the tool itself. So I'm given a target. We're all given a target in the classroom. We all have to go into our inner hearing and vision, write down impressions and not write down the meaning. So if I saw a circle and I drew a circle, that's great. My target looks like a circle. And then I see a color and it might be blue. And then then I say, oh, it's the earth. It's the blue ball of the earth. Well, that's my mind interpreting the image. And I really want to get this across if you're going to try to use a remote viewing tool, because the more you interpret the image, the least likely it's going to be accurate. I have examples of me failing and succeeding on this metric. So when I was in his place doing my remote viewing lesson at the end of the day, the graduating lesson on Sunday, he had a envelope with a picture in it. Now, I don't remember if he double blinded, meaning someone else picked the picture, like his wife, put it in the envelope, gave it to him, so that he didn't know it was in the envelope either. That's the correct protocol, that your handler who gives you the target is also unfamiliar with what the ultimate target is. So you're twice removed. Someone gives the handler the target handler gives you the target. And his coordinates. In this case, the coordinates were just an envelope. It was in a manila envelope. 8.5 by 11, big envelope. And we didn't know what was inside the envelope. And he allowed us each to pass the envelope around, kind of just like vibing out with the envelope. But then the envelope just sat in the middle of the room and we had to remote view. And he gave us about 20 minutes, maybe 15 minutes to do it. We had notepads and each person in the room had to come up with their interpretations of shapes, colors, sounds, impressions, maybe feelings, anything you could get coming through, and refrain from interpretation. So I'm in the room and I get a horseshoe, like a real horseshoe, off of a horse. And then after the horseshoe, I hear roaring water. And I don't mean a little I mean like roaring water. And then I saw an eagle flying in the sky, bald eagle flying in the sky. Now, at the time, I was a shamanic practitioner, and that was one of my totem animal allies things. So I thought, oh, my animal ally's helping me out here today. No. See, I interpreted it as my animal ally. My mistake. At the end, when we had to discuss what we saw, we went in a circle and we gave our impressions based on our notes. We were reading our notes. And only one other person had something similar to me. They said something about water. And when it came to me, I said, well, I know I'm not supposed to do this, but it's a horseshoe with a roaring water sound. I think it's Niagara Falls. So I interpreted it after the effect, which I shouldn't have done. It's not right. Maybe it could have been a horse galloping on the ocean with a waterfall nearby, but I interpreted it. So then he walked over to me at the end of it all, and he handed me the envelope to open in front of the class. And it was a picture of the horseshoe Niagara Falls with a bald eagle flying over the horseshoe falls. So my mistake was to interpret the eagle as my animal guide instead of just saying it's a fucking eagle. It's a part of the target. Still, that's when he took me on to train me because he thought I was going to be another Ingo Swan. But it is important not to interpret, because when you do, you end up often contaminating the data. And that's why a remote viewing as a practice, like for the CIA and NSA, they would get remote viewings from a dozen different remote viewers, and they would compile the results for commonalities amongst the data. And then they would talk to the remote viewers afterwards, right? Having a sense of what the target is, they'd be asking more follow-up questions, but keeping the remote viewer still blind, right? Okay, so that's the tool called remote viewing. Okay, now to make it simple, without having a handler, and you're not going to get a handler, and a handler's not going to have a handler because you're not doing this in the military or in the CIA, you're going to do your own version of remote viewing. And I call it the doors because this is a technique I learned before I even learned to remote view at Dale Graff. And so I've synthesized remote viewing with this technique called the doors. So you're going to write down a bunch of questions on index cards again. Again, find questions that are frivolous about other people. You don't really care if your sister's going to wed Bob, so throw it in there, right? But you really do care if you're going to like this job, or should you take it, or will you take it? So you mix in a bunch of low emotional impact questions and high emotional impact questions, meaningful questions to you. So you get a stack of cards. You shuffle the cards. You can't see the questions. You're obviously shuffling with the questions hidden from your view. So if your questions on the line side, you're looking at the top, the white side, when you shuffle the pile. Calming your mind, breathing deeply, getting into a relaxed state, putting those calming instrumental music in. Don't get word music, instrumental music. Words won't work. No music's good too. If you're very clairaudient, probably a silent room is better. Okay, because you want to have inner music coming to you. You might hear songs like, can't get no satisfaction. And you're thinking, well, I like this job, right? So if you are very clairaudient, don't put calming music of any kind in your room. Stay silent. All right. Now you're going to hold up the card from the shuffled pile, and you're going to label it a number 1. And there's a reason for that. And I'll get to that. And this is your first card for the remote viewing session of your question on the index card. You're going to close your eyes and you're going to imagine a door in front of you. I don't care, blue, red, steel, gold, get a door in front of you. Quite often, once you start using this tool, you always have the same kind of door. It's always the same damn door, but you're going to put a door there. And there's a reason. That's the barrier between you and the answer. On the other side of the door is your answer. Gives you a pause. It gives you a threshold, imaginal threshold to cross over. Clearly, it's going to be more difficult to use this tool if you have no visual imagination at all. That's why we have other tools to use. So anyone who's a remote viewer has a very acute visual imagination. All right. So when you're ready, you're going to open the door and cross through to the other side. As soon as you do, you're going to start gathering impressions. It can be lots of impressions. Sometimes you cross over and you'll be in a windstorm. Sometimes you'll cross over and you'll be on a meadow with cows mooing and a rainbow in the distance. Sometimes you'll cross over and it'll be nothing but darkness, but you'll hear a song playing. Sometimes you'll cross over and you don't leave right away. Gather the data. You heard a song. It's dark in here. Just sit still. Oh, wait, there's a light over there. Go over. Oh, there's a book. Oh, I opened the book. Oh my God, it says XYZ. So spend some time gathering the data until you finish, until you feel done. Refrain from interpreting the data, because maybe you had a question in your index cards about, should I write a novel? And you end up in a dark room with a book on a table lit up. That may not be relevant to that index card. So just, again, don't try to interpret data yet. Just gather the data. And, hopefully you got a good memory, because sometimes you might have 5 different pieces of data. And then you're writing them down, like you write them down as the impressions come in, but I don't usually. I let the whole scene unfold, and then I can come back and write them down. But you can do it as you're doing it, kind of dip it. You don't want to dip too back. You cross into an imaginal realm on the other side of the door. So sometimes it's better not to come back and forth to write and open your eyes. So collect the data, then come out, write it on the card. That's number 1. Then do card number 2, put number 2, do your data collection. And you close your eyes, there's a door. And you do it till you want to stop. 5 cards, 8 cards. There's such a thing as psychic fatigue when you're learning how to do it, because it's like a muscle, right? So you might want to start small with 3 questions at a time from a larger pile, right? From a larger pile, so that you're not thinking, well, there's only 3 questions I've asked. One is about my marriage, one is about my job, and one is about my sister. So if you're only going to do 3 at a time, make sure it's from a larger pile of questions so that you have less likelihood of guessing what you're looking at. And then when you're done your pile and you've taken your impressions down, and as I say, it's psychic fatigue, stamina, build it up. So again, that I just covered that. If you have a set determined pile you're going to work with, let's say you're going to work with 7 questions, 7 index cards. Don't stop in the middle of your pile of 7 that you think you're going to go through those 7 questions. Don't stop, especially if your pile is only 7 questions long. Like that's it. You have seven index cards. Don't do one of them. And then as you finish the visionary door, read the answer to what you're doing the question to. Why? Why would you not want to do that? Because now you have actually eliminated that question from the remaining 6. And if you do that all the way through, by the time you get to the last card, you know what question you're going to be looking at. So you don't look at your answers, like you don't look at the question you're addressing until you've done the entire committed pile, 3, 7, 10, whatever you're doing. But it's all about the finite pile. If you only have a pile of 10 questions, right, and you're going to do all of them at once, you definitely don't want to start looking at your answers as you go. Because by process of elimination, you're going to know what's left. All right. If your door won't open when you're trying to open it, and I've had this happen to me, and other people I've trained to do this, you're not supposed to know the answer. It's literally like the yellow light. It's like your body goes back and forth. It's a maybe, I suppose with the Oracle of the Pages or the Claydon, no one ever speaks anything about your question. I guess with the Oracle of Pages, you keep running into stupid things like you're between words, or you're at the big gaps every time you tap it, like you're at a blank page before the next chapter. Maybe it's not a question that has an answer. So look for the signal that the answer isn't ready for you. There's not a determined outcome in the quantum field at this time. Why are we numbering the cards? Because Some people like me have a tendency to skip ahead. I'm a futurist. I like to jump ahead. I'm not in the power of now. I'm not in the past. This is not a girl who ruminates about the past. If I'm not in my power of now, I'm thinking about the future. So I tend to always be jigging a little bit ahead of myself, not behind myself. So when I was training with Dale Graff, he taught me to number the cards or to understand what was happening, because consistently in our training sessions, when he was sending me targets, like I'll give you an example. He had a target of a Ferris wheel. And then the next target was of a sandbox. I'm just making it up, but it would be like, I would be one ahead always. So that when I would see a square and I'd see sand, I go square and sand. And then I would say, I was always seeing the image he was going to give me next. Always. Like he had to get me to calibrate for the now. It was really hard for us because I would see the next object in his lineup. So he'd have a lineup of targets for me. He had the targets ready. He knew what it was going to be. And he kept seeing me answer the target that was coming, not the one I was on. So sometimes when you number the card, you'll notice something. Answer 2, like the image you got for number 2, is actually relevant to the question in card 3. And all you have to do is flip them around. You'll see this happening when you get sophisticated at it. An easy way to understand it would be like, say I asked a question about money. Will my financial portfolio increase in the markets this year? And then I asked another question is, will my sister get married to Bob? And my question is flipped. One is a wedding ring going on a hand, and the other one is money going down the drain. But I know that I asked a question about my financial portfolio and a question about my sister marrying Bob. So, but they're one away from each other, 1 and 2, or 2 and 3. All I did was skip a beat back in time or forward in time and see the other image before or after. So just flip them around. You'll notice this happens for some people who are very prone to thinking about the past too much or leaping into the future to think ahead. And some people will never have that problem, but you'll notice you might have a penchant for one or the other. Okay, so that's important because otherwise you'll think you're not doing it right. And every now and then you'll just mix the order up. Like you'll just see what I mean. All right, so finally, good old Yoda, ask and ye shall, I think that we complicate psychic stuff. Often I do. I get very much like in my head about it all, but I don't even have to do any of these tools if I want to just use synchronicity, feedback from divine mind, right? Hypothetically, Mercury is the synchronicity maestro, in astrology. Synchronicity increases the more you pay attention to it. The more you pay attention to it, the more it increases. The more it increases, the more you pay attention. If you think you never have synchronicity, you're just not paying attention. You're discounting the signs. And once you begin to honor and take note of the signs and think, oh, it's just a coincidence. No, it's a meaningful coincidence, which is what a synchronicity is, the more it will increase in your life. Synchronicity is your feedback loop from the universe. So when you're facing a major life choice, and we all have those moments, right? This can be a low pressure and easier way to get the answer than trying to harness any of the intuitive faculties directly, because you might feel too much pressure. And rather than try too hard, you could ask the universe to send you a string of synchronistic yes, no type answers or directional answers so that you can follow the signs. And if you've ever noticed, I have, in times of my life where I'm completely disconnected from myself or my spiritual practice or a sense of ease and harmony, it's because I've stopped paying attention to my synchronicities. So I always go back and say, I need to follow the signs and come back into that flow with the universe. So my favorite example, what happened to me where this tool really took off was back in 2017. I was offered a high coaching ticket opportunity in Bali by a small group of like 6 women and her in a week-long coaching session. And I had known some of her work and I had known of her and had interacted with her before. And I was thinking like, that's a lot of money. For me, it was a lot of money because I was a Canadian. So even then the money I had to spend was up by 30%. So all said and done, that was a big ticket for me. And it was really outside my comfort zone. But when the lady and I finished the call, the woman and I, we were like, okay, she says, well, would you like to enroll or not? And I said, I don't know yet. I need to look for signs. And she says, oh, okay. She says, how long will that take? And I said, well, usually 24 hours. So we finished a call in the evening one day. And I said, by tomorrow night, I should have an answer for you. Now, I'd used this tool before, but this was the best example I have of it, where I really began to use it quite often. So the trip was to Bali. I had been to Bali years before that, like in 2004 with an ex-boyfriend. And this is 2017. And so I'm thinking like, and it's a long way to go. I'm thinking like, give me the signs, universe, show me the way. And the next day I had to go to a notary public with my second ex-husband, and we were signing some documents on a property we had purchased. And we were in the notary's office, and we were sitting there, and I didn't even notice that the notary, which is like a lawyer, had this giant map of the world behind him with these little pins in all the places he traveled. And I didn't notice it at all. I was just really focused on the paper, the desk, this. And my ex-husband goes to the notary. Oh my God, I see you've been to Bali. Because my ex-husband had been to Bali and all of that. And so he was just small talking with the guy, but of all the pins there were pins in like France and Australia, and my ex-husband been to all of those places. He picked Bali to talk about. It wasn't like this guy had a pin in only Bali. So that was weird. So that was my first clue. And then later in the afternoon, my ex-boyfriend from 2004 that I went to Bali with sends me a picture of us together in Bali on Facebook Messenger or text message and says, those were the days. I miss those days. Bella, we're really good friends, an Italian guy. What are the odds? Come on. This is the same day, right? This is within 24 hours. So Bali. And the third synchronicity wasn't Bali. There was a big billboard or a poster, and this coach has an expression she used all the time about her business. And the expression was on the poster. And I'm like, okay, it's a done deal. So that night I signed up, and I've never regretted that trip on multiple levels, beyond the coaching calls, beyond the actual, business coaching stuff. What I never regretted was the deep spiritual experience that happened when I went there as well. All said and done, I was meant to go to Bali. And yet I wouldn't have taken that trip without those signs, right? I would have thought it's just too much money. Just recently I had an opportunity to go to Arizona and study with a mentor of mine. It's a big ticket item too. It's a lot of money for me. It's not really something I think I want to spend at this time. So I told her I'd look for the signs, and I didn't get any. So I'm not going. Right? That's simple. I'm not until if something changes, but I had no signs about going off to New Mexico in April for a very expensive 4 days. So it's not happening. So I just didn't get any clues for that. And I'm not going. So that's what I think is great about these tools, because you can use them whether you have a good imagination, whether you hear songs in your imaginal ear or not. Whether or not you are needing a quick answer, which is the pages, the oracle of the pages, or you want to learn to dive into remote viewing and blindfold your own conscious mind by making your questions blind targets on the other side of an index card. So you're not doing the thing that the Oracle of Whimsy does, which is remote view her topic that she knows she's remote viewing, which continually causes her to be wrong. All right. So I find her irritating too. So that's another thing. Okay. So does anyone have a question about the type of tool I've just taught? And then we could throw up an Oracle page and answer a question about something fun, about like politics or something, just for fun to finish up today. Because there's nothing I can really do other than give you the tools and maybe open up a Facebook room and I'll send it with the Facebook group with the replay. And I'm only doing Facebook. I don't want to set up anything complicated like WhatsApp. So if you don't like Facebook, sorry. Okay, so any questions, any thoughts? Any experiences in your life you want to share with the group because you've tried these tools or you've had something work before and you're like, oh my God, I've been doing that all my life, but I didn't know what I was doing. Hang on, I'll come back to you guys. Pitch black here. Hi, Mimi.